Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Vintage Cube draft. Now, just taking a look at this pack. I see Tundra in the opener here. There's not a lot of blue, so we could take Probe and try and go blue. There's also not a lot of white. I could take Skyclave Apparition. It is a very strong card, and we could try and do like a maybe Thalia Fun Policey kind of deck. Probe, it's true we can play in just about any deck, so I could play it theoretically even in like mono red for prowess. It can be good. We also have the option of like taking Hellrider, trying to cut red, or even taking Inspiring Vantage. I think I'm in a Skyclave Apparition sort of mood today, so I'm going to take Skyclave Apparition. We'll just see what works out. Alright, Volcanic Island, Deceiver Exarch coming around. There's a Koth of the Hammer, Swords to Plowshares, and Goblin Guide. I'm going to take Sword, and maybe we can wheel like Guide or something. We could also take Fractured Identity and go for like a bigger blue-white deck, potentially, but we did just pass Tundra. So it's unlikely we would get that all the way around. Plus Swords is playable in just about every kind of deck that plays white anyway. Alright, pack number 3, I see a Mox Diamond. This Mox Diamond can be very good in mono-white or red-white. Or mono red, even. Let's see, what else is in this pack that I would be giving up? Maybe like Time Spiral, Sulfuric Vortex. Green looks like it might be open. We'll take Mox Diamond. It's just the most broken card. Like, that is, I guess, freely available for different deck types, I should say. There's an argument that a lot of other cards in that pack were more broken, but... I could take Tithe Taker, I could take Winds of Abandon. I think I'm going to take Sacred Foundry. And just try moving into red-white, maybe. Karn. Man, green looks like it's really open. I don't really like playing white-green, though. I could take a Flame Tongue Kavu, Walking Ballista, or a Disenchant. I think I'm going to take Walking Ballista. It feels like somebody else might be in red and white now. We'll see. I'll take Wear and Tear. We're still getting red and white cards that are fairly decent. I could take Scrubland if I want to splash black. That's not a bad idea. Dreadhorde Arcanist is really good. Especially with cards like Swords. Soulfire Grandmaster is generally only played when you have Time Walk for the infinite combo. I'm going to go with the Arcanist, because it's potentially incredibly strong if we get like a Lightning Bolt or something. Alright, well, 8th pick Thalia, because this card gets no respect. Kind of sad to miss out on Port, because Port's very good when you're playing like a Thalia sort of disruptive deck. I'm kind of glad I took Mox Diamond, because turn 1 Thalia is one of the best things this deck can do. Inspiring Vantage came all the way around, so we'll take Inspiring Vantage. This is one of the better deck archetypes, and it's usually pretty open, because people don't enjoy drafting it as much. Let's see. Probably not going to be mono-red enough for Koth, so I guess that means I'm taking Silverblade Paladin. Top is also very strong, but I don't really like Top in an aggressive deck. Eidolon of Obstruction is technically a hate bear. I think I'm going to take Savannah for the opportunity to splash green, though, because we could get like an Ancient Grudge or something like that. And we're almost certainly centered in white here. I guess I'll take a Carnage Tyrant, put it in the sideboard. Like, I mean, maybe if we play against a hard control deck that doesn't want to win till turn 40 and we're splashing green, that could maybe be a thing. I think Null Priest of Oblivion, well, yeah, I'll put Revelark in the sideboard. Don't know that I'm going to play that either, but... Desperate Ritual is fine. The potential for us to, like, Desperate Ritual off of 3 into, like, a Chandra early or something does exist. Kasali Pride Mage could be good, especially if we do end up splashing green. Just having random artifact destruction is pretty good in Vintage Cube because of all of the broken artifact mana. Alright, pack 2. So in pack 2, we have Balance, which could be very strong. We also have Soulscar Mage. We do need some amount of aggression. Balance, if I already had like a Mox of, like a Mox Pearl or a Mox Ruby, I think I would take Balance here. Because then we could play out our hand really quickly and then just Balance and win the game. In fact, we probably can still do that. So if we get more 1-drops, for sure. I'll take Balance, it's really strong. It's going to be good kind of like in an aggressive aggro matchup. Because if they play more creatures than us, they're going to lose them. Alright, I like Karakas. I like Thoughtseize and Abbott. We have nothing that currently works with Caracas, but we could, like, stop our opponent's Gideons and things like that. So I'm going to take Caracas. It's better in, like, blue-white when you can compete it, like, repeatedly recycle Venser and Vendilion Click. Okay. So in this pack we have Porcelain Legionnaire, Bombat Courier. I kind of like Courier the most. It can help recoup some card advantage if we just, like, dump our hand. If we end up being very close to mono white, Honor of the Pure becomes amazing. Porcelain Legionnaire is very strong, but is not likely to be picked by other decks. Same with Vryn Wingmare, so we'll take a Courier. Okay. Our red fixing is decent, so we could play Eidolon, but I really would like to play more 1-drops. So I think I'm going to take Legion's Landing. Boros Signet's not bad, especially if we're considering actually playing Balance more than 0 times. But Landing is better, I think, just in general for us right now. Alright. Burst Lightning's great. I don't think I'm going to ignore Chad this time, though. He's going to be pretty good, I've got a feeling. Especially if we are on the, like, Desperate Ritual into Planeswalkers plan, but that's really only good if we have red Planeswalkers, I suppose. Burst Lightning's good with Dreadhorde Arcanist, but Gideon's more likely to get picked, so we'll take him. Incinerate not as good with Dreadhorde Arcanist. I could take Yorion. Maybe we just build, like, a big 60-card white deck. Selfless Spirit is a very good dork, so is Sword of Body and Mind is good just in general if you're playing, like, the white aggressive deck. We won't have access to Batterskull if we do ever end up finding Stoneforge Mystic. Oof, this one's actually a little tough for me. I think I'm gonna go with the Sword. Alright. Mentor is good, but we don't have very many cheap non-creature spells, because we haven't taken any burn spells yet. If we do take some, this becomes really good. Council's Judgment is just incredibly powerful removal. This is not a Duretti deck. We do have Swords, Wear and Tear. I'm going to take Mentor, I think. I think I would rather have access to more dorks just right now. Nahiri is good. Absolutely playable in a deck like this, even without Emrakul as top end. Though, if Emrakul comes around in this pack, I might take it just for the meme. Containment Priest is a good flash bear. It's great versus Reanimator. We do need more creatures. But I'm going to take Nahiri. I guess I'm going to play more of a red-white mid-range deck than what I was initially planning. Elesh Norn off of Nahiri is kind of fun, but I don't think I'll actually be able to play an Elesh Norn. We don't have nearly enough artifact mana for that. Kind of wish I was splashing black at the moment for like K-Command and Fatal Push, but I didn't take Blood Crypt or Godless Shrine. Yeah, I'll take Elesh Norn, but I don't know if I'm going to play that yet or not. Stonecoil Serpent is playable in a deck like this, but I think Lingering Souls may actually be better, especially because we have Sword now. So I'm going to take Lingering Souls. Honor of the Pure. We are getting pretty close to mono white. Vryn Wingmare is not as good as Thalia, even though it does the same thing, it just costs more. So I'm going to take Honor of the Pure. I will take Eidolon, but I'm probably not playing it. Sun Titan, Yorion, Show and Tell in the sideboard. Okay, so it kind of looks like we're playing almost mono white right now. So I just set these cards over in this pile. I could still splash for like Nahiri. Let's see. So there's Armageddon, Goblin Rabble Master, Giver of Runes, and Big Chad. Kind of playing white splash a little bit of red right now. Rabble is really good. Ends the game quickly. If I could get another Mox, I would take Rabble right now. Giver of Runes is strong, but basically only goes in a deck similar to the one we're drafting right now, so it's probably going to wheel. I think I'm going to take 5-mana Gideon. Rabble is just so good, though. I'll take Rabble. Rabble's worth splashing for. There's a Stoneforge Mystic for our Sword of Body and Mind. Plus it opens up any equipment left in this pack, and is another cheap creature. Prismatic Vista is just like free fixing. Revoker would be good for us. Young Pyro would be good for us. But I'm going to take Stoneforge Mystic just because it helps kind of like consistently get Sword and put it onto the battlefield quickly. Plus, if we get multiple equipment, there's always the chance we could like flicker it with Yorion or something, and that would be cool. Okay, Marsh Flats can get Sacred Foundry or Savannah. Bloodstained Mire can get Sacred Foundry only. Adanto Vanguard's nice. I do want at least one fetch land, and I'm kind of sad to pass up on Glorybringer and Vanguard for it. Glorybringer we may not actually play unless we're playing a lot more red, but we'll take Marsh Flats right now. Okay, so we have Windswept Heath, which can get Sacred Foundry, Savannah, or another land. We can take Brimaz, or Brimiz, however you pronounce that. I guess I don't really know. I think taking Windswept Heath is correct here. It makes our mana just so much better. Thraben Inspector versus Oust or Jitte. I think this is a Jitte deck. We have Stoneforge, we have Dorks. Definitely going to take Jitte. Hopefully Thraben Inspector, Oust, or Dismember Wheels. Relic Warder is good. Sword of Fire and Ice is good. Knight of Autumn we can actually play. I'm going to take the Sword. And something from that pack hopefully wheels. And we're kind of getting down to the point where cards are not going to wheel, so we're just going to take whatever we can play effectively. So Flicker Wisp here seems like a good card. If we were playing blue, we would have gotten a opposition, which could have been cool. I think we're a little light on removal, so maybe I should take Lightning Helix. But I think Student of Warfare is going to be better because we're going to be mostly mono white, and I need a few cheaper cards than what I've got right now. Giver of Runes is great, so I'll take Giver. Young Pyro is a card that is technically playable, though we don't have a lot of things to actually enable its ability. We're just not playing anything else in this pack. Alright, Adanto Vanguard is great. Sure, we'll take an opposition agent in the side. Thraben Inspector's perfect. And here we were worried about low drops. Relic Warder is a little bit better than Knight of Autumn here, because it doesn't require us to splash at all. So I don't think we're going to be playing green at all, because we only have Kasali Pride Mage, really. And I actually don't think we're going to be playing much red, if any. I could splash for just Rabblemaster. Sun Titan and Elishnorn are going to be too expensive for this deck. And we could splash for just Rabblemaster and like Bombat Courier activation. I kind of like that because our mana is going to be really consistent this way. And we have sideboard options too. Let's see. Put those in a pile. Mox Diamond is a spell, not a land. If I just cut Rabblemaster, we're at 24 cards and I don't need to make any other adjustments. I guess because that's easy on my brain, I'm going to do that. So I'll play these, add basic lands, no islands. We're playing Mox Diamond because accelerating into some of our 2-drops is great. Like playing a turn 1 Stoneforge is pretty good. Even it's not as good as like turn 1 Thalia, but still pretty good. Even playing turn 1 2 1-drops is great. So, alright. I'll see you guys in round 1. Alrighty. Round 1, here we go. Alright, this seems like an excellent hand. We will keep. I think I'm going to start Giver of Runes rather than Bombat Courier. Opponent is also on red-white. We draw, like, all of our equipment. Sure. We really want to protect Stoneforge with this hand, so I think Giver of Runes here is definitely correct. Opponent plays Tundra, so they're probably some form of Jeskai control. I'm not going to risk casting Mox Diamond, simply because I'm worried that my opponent could have a counter spell that hits Mox Diamond specifically, like Force of Negation. So Stoneforge is protected from 1 removal spell. We have all of our equipment in hand. Opponent plays an island into an Oblivion Ring. So they're going to target Giver of Runes. Okay. Technically it's correct to give Stoneforge Mystic Protection in response, but... Alright, now I'll cast Mox Diamond. Discarding a Plains. Play Bombat Courier. Go to combat. And attack for 1. We can use, however our opponent decides to play their turn, or if they play any spells, as information on whether Sword of Fire and Ice or Body and Mind is going to be better. I suspect Sword of Body and Mind is actually going to be better versus whatever my opponent is doing right now. Okay, opponent plays a Johnny Vengeant. Now Sword of Fire and Ice is better. Opponent says our Mox Diamond does not untap. Okay. So I'm going to put in Sword of Fire and Ice because it gives protection from a Johnny. We untap. Draw plains. Play a plains. Now, currently our problem is we can't kill a Johnny, but we can stop him from doing anything other than plussing. So suit up Stoneforge Mystic. Go to combat. Attack our opponent. Attack a Johnny. I don't really want to crack Bombat Courier because we have a bunch of great equipment in hand. The idea is we're going to shock a Johnny Vengeant with Sword of Fire and Ice when it hits. Okay, we draw another plains. Pass the turn. Next turn we can play and equip Jitte or like Sword. I really don't want to crack Bombat Courier, so if they do have removal for it, I don't think I'm going to do anything about it. Opponent plays a Council's Judgment. Alright, what are they voting for? Okay, they voted for Stoneforge Mystic, so I guess I have to vote for Stoneforge Mystic as well. Then they're going to say Bombat Courier doesn't untap. Sure. We untap, we draw Marsh Flats, play a Plains, equip Sword, and we'll play Sword of Body and Mind as well. This does prevent them from bolting Bombat Courier. But they could have like a Path or a Wrath or another white removal spell, like an Unexpectedly Absent. 5 mana, opponent plays Gideon Jura, and just destroys Bombat Courier. Okay. They uptick a Johnny on Mox Diamond, and play Ameria Shattered Skyclave tapped. Alright, we untap. We draw Lingering Souls. Oh, I did not put a swamp in the deck to splash Lingering Souls flashback, but we do have Mox Diamond. Alright, so this turn I'm going to cast Lingering Souls and equip one of the tokens with Sword of Fire and Ice. I believe this is the most likely way we have a creature survive long enough. My opponent is probably just going to plus Gideon to taunt. Alright, opponent plays a Hallowed Fountain, tapped. They ticked up both their Planeswalkers, number 1 keeping Mox Diamond, tapped. We draw Windswept Heath. So suit up the Spirit already wielding a sword, go to combat, attack with both creatures at Gideon because Gideon plussed, so they have to. Unexpectedly absent the token. That's pretty good. I guess I should have played out and equipped Jitte to the other token prior to play around that, but I didn't think about it. So play Jitte. Equip Sword. Opponent is probably going to just down-tick Gideon to kill the token, now that it's tapped. At least we don't have to redraw a token. We need to draw something in the next couple of turns that sticks. Opponent animates Needle Spires. So hopefully they're out of removal. I mean, they drafted a pretty good control deck, so odds are, I mean, they still have like a Path or a Swords in their deck somewhere, but... Land attacks. Okay. They have 7 lands, we have 6, so we're not going to play out Inspiring Vantage. Play Yorion. We're not going to flicker anything, because it's all negative right now. Pass the turn. So if my opponent has one more removal spell for Yorion, we lose, because they're just going to Alta Johnny, Armageddon us, and we're going to have a problem. We would just die to Needle Spires before we would actually be able to do anything. If they animate Needle Spires and attack, we cannot block because they could just down tick a Johnny at that point to kill it. Alright, no blocks. Go down to 8. Put an uptick to Johnny, but I didn't see on what. No text is coming up anywhere. Or did they not uptick a Johnny yet this turn? Oh, they're just lightning bolting us? Okay. Because between animate Needle Spires and down tick a Johnny, they have us dead next turn. So what do we need to do? We need to equip Sword, equip Jitte, go to combat, attack and kill Gideon. We equip Jitte because we need to gain life. Then we play Legion's Landing, get a life-linking token, and move Sword over to the token to stop Needle Spires from attacking. Should be relatively safe now. They can uptick a Johnny on Yorion to prevent it from untapping, but we're not really scared of that. Yep. Okay. They play a land, and they pass. We are going to gain 2 life. We're leaving 1 charge counter on Jitte because it kills Needle Spires immediately. We untap, draw Monastery Mentor, equip the Sword to the Vampire, and equip Jitte to the Vampire as well. Go to combat, attack our opponent, whole bunch of damage, shock a Johnny, get charge counters, mill our opponent a lot, get another token. We get a Caracas. I'm going to move Sword of Fire and Ice over to the Wolf. Well, actually I'm going to move nothing anywhere. I think I'm just going to pass. I don't want my opponent stopping the token from untapping, because we want to be able to hit them with life-linking stuff. Like, they could down-tick a Johnny to kill the Wolf, and they could attack with Needle Spires, but we could kill Needle Spires 3 times over because Jitte is a broken card. Opponent top decks a land. This would be a good time to take note of what's in their deck. Control Magic, Mirari Conjecture, Shark Typhoon, lands, Grim Monolith Repeal. This is a very big card, and it's Ulamog. So our opponent is going to exile 2 of our permanents. We can Caracas Ulamog back to their hand for a turn. They're going to exile Jitte and Sword of Fire and Ice. So what do we want to do here? We're going to increase this by +2/+2 for a turn, because our creature is going to drop down to being a 3/3. So they can't just down tick a Johnny and kill the life-linking token. We're going to gain some life. I guess they're going to uptick, so maybe I should have just gained life entirely, but 1 attack from that Ulamog and we're dead. Opponent upticks on the Vampire. Interesting. We draw Plains. Play Caracas. Play Monastery Mentor. Make them pick up Ulamog. Flashback Lingering Souls. Get a Monk. Alright, opponent scoops it up. I'm pretty sure they still had us, but I mean, I'll take the win. If it means I don't have to think about it, I guess. So my opponent is playing a very strong control deck. They do have some artifact mana, so maybe we need to bring in Wear and Tear. They also have Banishing Light and Oblivion Ring. So I think I'm going to drop Silverblade Paladin for Wear and Tear. Alright, turn 1 Bombat Courier into turn 2 Thalia. Seems pretty good, because we can fetch up for Wear and Tear if my opponent has like a Grim Monolith start. We can fetch up Sacred Foundry, I mean. I just realized I completely didn't even say that word. So, okay. Crack Marsh Flats will get Sacred Foundry. Untapped. Play Courier. And attack for 1. Okay, opponent goes down to 19. They untap. They play a Plains. And they're passing. So they probably have an Unexpectedly Absent or some other kind of removal. It's kind of funny because you can unexpectedly absent a Bombat Courier and then get it to exile itself in response to its trigger. It's just kind of silly. I think that's actually what my opponent is doing. That's fine, because I don't really want to redraw Bombat Courier, so I'm going to let this happen and get it exiled to its own trigger. I could have tried to play Thalia to like get my opponent first, but I think Thalia is going to do more work now. Plus, my opponent could just unexpectedly absent the Bombat Courier in response to the Thalia, and then I would have to redraw Bombat Courier, which would not be very good. Opponent plays a Shelldock Isle, but unless they have Swords Path or Bolt, they're not able to kill Thalia this turn, which is pretty sweet. Okay, we untap, draw Stoneforge Mystic, go to combat, attack for 2. Now, just in case my opponent has a Day of Judgment, which we did see when we milled them, I'm going to play out Adanto Vanguard, because that's going to be the hardest thing for them to answer. I'm going to follow up with Student of Warfare. We don't really care if we lose Student. Adanto Vanguard will survive Destruction and Wraths. And then we can potentially follow this up with a Stoneforge Mystic and a Wear and Tear, depending on what my opponent plays. Okay, balance is pretty bad for us, because we just lost all of our creatures. My opponent has to discard 2 cards, so I guess there's that. Hopefully Stoneforge Mystic follow-up is enough. My opponent has a lot of white removal, and we do not have... I think they took out Sword of War and Peace, actually. So none of the swords currently in the cube actually protect you from white mana. Yep. My opponent discarded Repeal and Nahiri, and does not make a land drop. Okay. We draw Swords. Play Mystic. We're going to go get Sword of Fire and Ice. It's just the highest payoff if we can get it onto the board. Protects from most of what our opponent does. Not even most. I guess it's less than most, but it's the most protecting option we have right now. Okay, opponent plays a Worn Power Stone. I would really like to draw a land here. We untap. We draw Inspiring Vantage. I should have specified untapped land. So I have to pick between Sword or Wear and Tear. I'm going to do the Wear and Tear thing. I can't play around Spell Pierce. My opponent discarded Nahiri, so I think we're fine there to attack and just get in the 1 damage. I guess this is playing into like Big Gideon, but we're almost to the point we can play and equip Sword of Fire and Ice. So my opponent could play 5 mana Gideon and downtick to kill Stoneforge. Okay, unfortunately they had it. We have Swords if they ever decide to animate Gideon. We untap, draw Plains. So I'm actually going to sandbag this Plains for a turn, because I don't want my opponent to know I can play and equip Sword of Fire and Ice. Just play Walking Ballista on 1. And like, I don't know, bluff a burn or protection spell. If they decide to start attacking with Gideon, we can Swords it, which is great. Alright, they animate Gideon. They go to combat and attack. So, Swords to Plowshares. Nice. Second main phase. Opponent has another big spell. Just hardcast Shark Typhoon. Alright. Well, they're top decking, and if they don't top deck non-creature spells, like if they just hit lands, we should be able to overpower them with this Sword of Fire and Ice. Even if they end up getting a couple of small sharks, we should be able to race this. Go to combat. Attack our opponent for 3. They go to 19, then we shoot them for 2, and they go to 17 while we draw a card. It's a Yorion. Opponent untaps. I should turn off auto yields here. If they animate Needle Spires and attack, we can actually ping down the Needle Spires. and keep our Walking Ballista alive because it's equipped. Alright, Needle Spires is animated. They go to combat. They attack for 4. Kill Needle Spires. Nice. Alright, we untap. We draw Caracas. Alright. Well, I was going to just put a counter on Ballista this turn because I was afraid we might lose Yorion otherwise. We're going to start by attacking, but now I can leave up Caracas to pick up Yorion. So even if my opponent does draw a Wrath, we can save our big flyer. Hit our opponent for 2, then shoot them for 2 and draw. Monastery Mentor. Mentor is good, but I think just playing Yorion is going to be better. Okay, we're not flicking any of our permanents. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays a land. Well, thankfully, they're not drawing anything they can use to make sharks currently. We untap. We draw another Plains. So play a Plains. Go to combat. Attack our opponent for 6. Shoot our opponent for 2. Draw Big Gids. Alright. Play Big Gideon. The only way this is bad is if my opponent's last card in hand is a counterspell. They're activating Shelldock Isle, okay? Because we have less than 20 cards in our deck. Lapse of Certainty. They're going to put Gideon on top of our deck. I'm going to leave up Caracas and we're going to pass. I've never actually seen that spell played in Vintage Cube, and there it was actually fairly decent. Of course, they did only play it for 2 mana instead of the usual 3. So my opponent is going to attack. No blocks. This probably means they drew a Wrath. Yep, Day of Judgment. Well, I'm glad I did not play out Mentor. Pick up Yorion. Opponent gets a 4/4 Shark. Blows up the world. Alright. We untap. We draw Gideon. Okay, go to our main phase. Play Mentor. Play Gideon. Mentor trigger. Get a token. Prowess trigger. Gideon enters the battlefield. Make a knight. Pass the turn. And I think we've got it. Unless my opponent has a planar cleansing, at which point we're still following up with Yorion here. Opponent plays a Johnny Vengeant. They get a shark. They Lightning Helix Mentor. I think my opponent, though, is just dead to plus Gideon and equip Sword, which is exactly what I would do there. And so we win the match. Alright. Well, that was fun. I will see you guys in round 2. Alrighty. Round 2, here we go. I mean, the curve is a little awkward, but it's not terrible. I'll keep this. Opponent plays a Plains. We draw Thalia. Play Giver. Pass the turn. Opponent Mana Tithes us. That's not what I expected. Opponent plays an Island. Okay. We draw Bombat Courier. So, play Thalia. Thalia resolves. Pass the turn. Opponent plays an Island. Passes. We draw a Mox Diamond. Play a Plains. We can either cast Honor of the Pure, or we can play Thraben Inspector, Bombat Courier. I think... Well, first let's attack. I think we're playing Thraben Inspector this turn, and I kind of want to leave up Crack Clue more than I want to play Bombat Courier, because we don't have any red mana right now. And we still have some pretty decent cards left in hand. I could play Thraben Inspector and then play Walking Ballista on one. That's also kind of reasonable. Play Inspector. Get a Clue. That's not what I wanted. I want to play Walking Ballista now. Okay. Pass the turn. Opponent disenchants Ballista, so we'll ping them for 1. Opponent plays Monastery Mentor. Alright, we draw Skyclave Apparition, which is kind of the perfect answer to Monastery Mentor right here. We're going to do that. Go to combat. Attack for 3. So it kind of looks like my opponent is playing another control deck. Which I'm really glad that we had Thalia while our opponent was playing Mentor, because it kind of indicates that they're going to play at least one non-creature spell this turn. So, like, it's really good that my opponent couldn't play Mentor and then go, like, Swords there on something. Opponent plays Narset, Parter of Veils. Down ticks, looking for a Wrath of God. Okay, that's a bit of a problem. We draw Flicker Wisp. So luckily, this turn we can actually just play Honor of the Pure and get a big swing in. We can either hit our opponent for 8 and take them to 6, or we can kill Narset and hit them for 5 and take them to 9. I think killing Narset is prudent because we do have Sword of Fire and Ice in this deck. They only have 3 cards left in their hand as well, so they're going to need some card advantage. Unfortunately, this means they're getting a free token off of Skyclave Apparition, but we did draw Flicker Wisp to negate that. So our opponent was holding a land, so they Wrath of God. We untap and draw Student of Warfare. Play Flicker Wisp. Take out the Illusion token. Opponent briberies us. Glad I'm not playing the Nahiri Emrakul thing. Let's see what they take. Could be like Stoneforge if they have equipment of their own, or their own Stoneforge. Okay, we untap. My opponent got Yorion. We draw planes. So, play Mox Diamond. Discarding planes. Play Student of Warfare, play Bombat Courier, level up, and level up. No attacks, pass to next turn. Opponent plays Coalition Relic and Leon Relic Warder, exiling our Honor of the Pure. Alright, we untap. Draw Monastery Mentor. So we can either start leveling up Student of Warfare. We can play out Mentor. My opponent only has 1 card in hand. I could crack the clue and see if I hit a land first, I guess. Because drawing, like, Swords to Plowshares would also be good here. Or Jitte. I mean, like, Jitte's great. Play Jitte. Opponent puts a charge counter on Coalition Relic. We pass. So we can put Jitte on Student of Warfare, and if our opponent blocks with Yorion, we can use the charge counters after we deal first strike damage to kill Yorion, which would be pretty cool. Opponent plays Elesh Norn, and we're very, very sad. Like, that's just game over. Gideon? Yeah, Gideon, you're a little late. A little late there, bud. Okay. Moving on to the next round. Or next game, I mean, not next round. Run it back. Okay. We'll play first. This is a very slow hand. Yeah, I think I have to mulligan that. Okay. I'll keep a turn 1 Thalia hand. So let's put back planes. Yeah, put back planes. Start Marsh Flats. Fetching up. Sacred Foundry. Untapped. Mox Diamond. Pitch Plains. Then play Thalia. And I'm almost to the point that I would just cast Balance here if I got the opportunity. We untap. We draw Sword. Play Bombat Courier. Go to combat. Attack. So we do need to hit a land so we can actually cast Jitte and start getting our equipment on the board. Also, drawing Stoneforge Mystic would be great. Opponent plays a second Plains into a Wall of Omen. Draws a card. Now Balance would be super good because our opponent would sack a land and we'd get to keep a creature. And they have to like discard their entire hand if we do this. So let's go ahead, go to combat, attack. Okay. Another card under Bombat Courier. I think we keep Thalia. As much as it would be good to draw more cards off of Bombat Courier, my opponent is going to be denied mana anyway. Oh, I can't cast Balance. Herp derp. Okay, well, that's fine. We do need one more mana. Potentially, if we draw a land, it could be even more punishing, but... Okay, opponent plays a Maria, Shattered Skyclave. Passes turn. We untap. Draw another card we can't cast. Go to combat. I should not have put back that other land. I should have put back Jitte. Well, I'm pretty close to just wheeling away all of our cards, which sucks because we're holding, like, all of our power. But if my opponent doesn't play Counterspell mana, and we draw another land, they're still going to have to sack 2 lands and discard most of their hand. We untap. We draw Sword of Body and Mind. Go to combat. Attack for a lot. It's too bad we're... Like, if we had 4 mana, we could activate Bombat Courier. No, never mind. Balance is not an instant for good reasons. I was just saying, if only we could discard our hand and then cast Balance. That doesn't work that way. Alright, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a Plains. Just don't cast a Planeswalker. Cast a dumb creature. Okay, that's bad. Okay. Opponent passes. We draw. Gideon. I have never been so punished for not keeping a land in hand. I just want to cast this Balance so badly. Let me do it. Let me cast the Balance. So we've attacked with Bombat Courier 5 times. Sorry about that. I couldn't get to the mute button fast enough. Opponent taps Coalition Relic, adds a charge counter. They untap. They put a charge counter on Coalition Relic, or they take a charge counter off, add blue mana. They play Elspeth, and Balance is no longer good. Yeah, I think that's just game, because we can't compete with the soldier tokens. We kind of could if we had been able to, like, Jitte onto Thalia much quicker. But, like, we just didn't draw lands. We probably put them all under Bombat Courier. So we untap. We draw Windswept Teeth. So play Windswept Teeth, crack Windswept Teeth, get a Plains, play Jitte, no attacks, pass the turn. So I do think putting back the land was a mistake, because it guaranteed that, like, turn 3 or 4 we could play something else. But also, we should have drawn a land by now. Like, we should have drawn a land within, like, the first 4 turns. That is almost guaranteed. And the fact that we didn't is, like, just extra punished. So while I did think I made a mistake, I did not think... I don't think the punishment would have been this severe had we not kept that land. I knew the opportunity was there, but, like, I didn't think it would be this bad. Ah, Time Warp. Oh, jeez. Well, opponent's deck is sweet. There's that. They're this really cool, like, control-y mid-range deck. Ah, well then. Bombat Courier gets disenchanted. Opponent plays a Narset. We draw Lingering Souls. So the correct thing to do here is Balance. We discard Lingering Souls. My opponent has to sack all of their creatures except Wall. They have to sack all of their lands except 2, but now they have 2 active Planeswalkers, one of which is about to ult that I can't even get through the wall with Thalia. So I'm just going to concede. There is some opportunity for our opponent to punt, but it is very small. And our opponent ulting Elspeth just means game over for us. So, alright, I will see you guys in round 3. Alrighty, welcome to round 3. Well, never mind. I'll see you guys when round 3 actually starts. Alright, maybe this time? Yes, this time. I would like to play first. Perfect curve, we will keep. If I draw a land, we can turn 4 Umezawa's Jitte after Mentor and then equip. Start Thraben Inspector, get a token, pass the turn. Opponent starts Island and passes. We draw Plains, go to combat, attack for 1. Opponent goes down to 19. Play a Plains, play Adonto Vanguard, pass the turn. I mean, I guess Daze could have gotten us there, but thankfully our opponent did not have Daze, or was unwilling to use Daze. Either one would be fine with me. Opponent plays a Polluted Delta, and passes. We untap, we draw Mox Diamond, okay. So, go to combat. I could play out Umezawa's Jitte, but I think I'm going to play Mentor first. So attack for 4, see if we can force any action from our opponent. Play a Plains, play Mentor. This will probably get countered. If it doesn't, though, I mean, the upside of playing Mox Diamond here to get a token is pretty high. Opponent also having to shock for mana is pretty good for us. Impulse. Interesting. That is not a counterspell. Okay. Play Mox. Get a token. Pitch Plains. Pass the turn. So my opponent needs a Toxic Deluge here. Spellseeker for our opponent. Okay. Let's see what they get. Spellseeker can get some of the more broken spells in Vintage Cube, like Recall or Time Walk. High Tide. Alright, my opponent is probably a Storm deck then. They play a Mox Diamond, discarding a Swamp. So we untap. We draw Flicker Wisp. Oh man, Flicker Wisp on Mox Diamond seems too good to pass up, because they have to discard another land if they want to keep it. I'm actually going to do that rather than cast Jitte this turn. So we're going to go ahead and go to combat. Attack for a lot. They're going to block Mentor, take 5. Okay, they go down to 7. Here comes Flicker Wisp to ruin the day, hopefully. Flicker my opponent's Mox Diamond. They Mystical Tutor in response. I mean, if they get Time Spiral and have another land to discard, then they can High Tide, Time Spiral, and continue going off. But I think this is our best play at trying to interrupt and disrupt our opponent's mana. They get Time Twister. Okay. So Mox Diamond re-enters the battlefield and goes immediately to the graveyard. Almost said Exile Zone, and that would be incorrect. Opponent High Tides. I think this is kind of like a desperation combo. So they're going to Time Twister. Oh, they're going to Cabal Ritual first. With Threshold. Well, that makes their hand a lot better than it was. They cast Time Twister. We draw a full grip that does not contain any sort of instant speed interaction with what our opponent is doing. They probe us, going down to 5 life. At the very minimum, even if they fail to complete the combo here, they do get a little more information that way. They play Cabal Ritual. No Threshold that time. And they play Mirari Conjecture, picking up Cabal Ritual. Next turn they can pick up... Well, they can't pick up anything because they would die. Sweet, we got there. Let me think. Eidolon of the Great Revel actually seems really good versus our opponent's deck, but hitting double red would be a little bit difficult with our current fetch land setup, and it would be difficult to get to double white as well. I think I do want Wear and Tear, probably over a random Silverblade, and we'll run it back like this. Well, the only thing that's better than this is like a Thalia opener. My opponent is on the play. I'm going to mulligan. I would like to try and get a Thalia hand. This hand is actually better. I'm going to keep, and I am going to put back Chad. He's great, but this should be an actual quick Legion's Landing flip. So opponent starts. Probe. Going to get information first. They play an island. We untap. We draw a Sacred Foundry. Play a Plains. Play Legion's Landing. Get a token. Pass the turn. We do have to be aware that milling our opponent with Sword of Body in mind could potentially be disastrous. Opponent misses their second land drop. That may have just been an outright mistake. Play Thraben Inspector. Play Student of Warfare. Go to combat, get in for 1. Next turn we can flip Legion's Landing. Alright, well that was a very short round 3 because our opponent kept a 1-land hand with no other plays. That may have been a misclick on the mulligan stage. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this iteration of Vintage Cube, and hope to see you in the next one. Please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. Right now I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few have been earlier than that. Upcoming news, I will be adding a new series to the channel. Some of you who are in the Discord may know what that is, or might be able to guess what that is. It will have a semi-regular time slot. It might take the place of some of the limited videos, because limited is not as popular. And it will probably mean that I'm going to play marginally less Tron than I play right now. Tron lovers, don't worry, it's not going away. It might be slightly diminished, because I have been playing a lot of Tron, and I am getting a little bit tired of doing so, so I'm going to shift a little bit of my focus to play a different constructed deck for a period of time, which will hopefully be very interesting or fun to watch. That is all I am going to tease about that right now. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I see you on stream, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!